Going. All right. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Buckeye Wellness November Lunch and Learn. Crazy to think that we are already in mid-November. I'm Nicole Johnson. I'm the program coordinator with Buckeye Wellness. And before we get to our wonderful speakers, I'm just going to highlight a couple of upcoming events. Our next Lunch and Learn will be December 10th. That is a little earlier than most other months. Due to the holidays, we bump it up a little bit. So we have a great presentation that will be on spiritual wellness and fostering hope and resiliency. We also have the Live Well webinar series. This takes place once a month. The next one is December 15th at noon. And this webinar series is all about the importance and incorporating wellness into the classroom and when you're teaching. And then the bottom two are our ongoing events. We have Movement and Mindfulness Mondays and group fitness classes. These will be going for the next couple weeks. Be sure to check on Link to Health and your Plan for Health calendar for maybe some changes that happen with the holidays coming up, but we would love to see you at all of these events. And during the presentation today, any questions that you have, go ahead and put them in the chat and we'll get to them at the end or during the presentation if they fit in with it right then. So our wonderful speakers today, we have two with us. I'll first introduce Jenny Schrodes. Jenny is a registered dietitian and certified diabetes care and education specialist. Jenny attended The Ohio State University and has worked at the medical center for 6 of her 15 years specializing in diabetes. Jenny believes in a comprehensive and practical approach to diabetes education, combining classroom education with hands-on cooking instruction, grocery tours, stress management techniques, and live activities/exercise options. She enjoys working with the Central Ohio community and is happy to be here today partnering with Jim Warner. You can catch Jenny every second and fourth Tuesday of the month at noon as she co-hosts a diabetes-friendly cooking demo. In the slides that were sent out this morning, I'll also resend them afterwards. There's a slide in there all about that. There's a QR code so you can get on that registration list and attend that as well. Next up, I'll introduce Jim Warner. Jim is employed at the Wexner Medical Center at The Ohio State University as Program Director, Food and Nutrition in the Nutrition Services Department. Jim's food service experience spans nearly 35 years, and he has been recognized by Ohio State University Medical Center as a leader in community health and wellness education. His primary responsibilities include integrating food and nutrition education throughout the medical complex, as well as engage with various community initiatives with food and nutrition programming. So, Jenny and Jim, I will stop sharing my screen and hand it over to you guys.
Thanks, Nicole.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us today. We have some Thanksgiving style dessert or entrees for you to try this upcoming season. And they're all fairly simple and straightforward, but there's a lot of flavor and a lot of texture and color in all the foods that we're preparing today. So if you have any questions, please add them into the chat, and Jenny and I will answer them to the best of our ability.
Yes. And if you have any diabetes related questions, fire away. We're ready. Jim, how are you today?
I'm doing well.
You're doing well.
I'm doing well. It's Friday.
You excited about
I
Thanksgiving?
am so excited about Thanksgiving. I can hardly, I'm thrown out of my skin right now.
I am so excited because I've already decided I'm making this turkey tenderloin recipe for my family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so I better do this right. Okay, well, the
right.
pressure's on for me today. So
I got to learn everything.
I'm a little anxious about this
All
right now that she told me that. But the first recipe that we're going to try today is the roasted turkey tenderloin. And I chose this dish for a couple of different reasons. Number one, when you look at the turkey tenderloin, and we bought this, and this is actually one of the national brands. It is pretty much clean of any silver skin. And silver skin is the membrane that's on the meat that separates the different muscles that connect the tenderloin with the rest of the chicken or the rest of the turkey breast. So they're all clean. So this is really worthwhile to buy the upgraded meats. It's super clean. So what I'm going to do is start this out like I do with most recipes. And I'm going to lay this in my pan. I'm going to season this with salt and black pepper. And what I'm using here, and I use this all the time, is I'm using a combination of kosher salt and coarse ground black pepper, which might be found as restaurant ground black pepper. I use 2 parts of kosher salt to 1 part of the ground black pepper. And I do it for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's very tactile. So instead of taking the salt container and just kind of sprinkling this on the food, I actually pull this out and I can feel the sprinkles on the food. And number two, I'm not sure whether you can see that. You can see where the salt is and you can see where the pepper is. Because it's a 2-to-1 ratio, I can tell based on the pepper how much salt I have on the turkey tenderloins here. And I do this with all meats. So it works out really well and it acts as a guide. It actually helps you along. We're gonna go ahead and get started with our turkey tenderloin. We're gonna add a little bit of olive oil to the pan. And what we'll do is we're gonna get this pan so it's starting to smoke a little bit is kind of what we want. You can see the smoke coming off there. But we're gonna put this, the seasoned side down, and you'll see in a minute why we're doing that. And you'll wanna hear that sizzle. That sizzle means that your pan's hot enough, because what we want to do with this is we wanna get a nice sear on the side, or actually both sides of the tenderloin. It does 2 things. Number one, it adds flavor. Number two, it keeps all the moisture in the tenderloin. So when you slice it, you get that nice moist tenderloin and you don't get that overcooked turkey. Again, we're going to season the back side of the turkey tenderloin.
You're definitely going to use less salt than if you're using your teaspoon measure.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And we really want to be aware of that during this season, especially because everything is so highly seasoned.
Yes.
And when you have diabetes and maybe heart issues, you need to be sensitive about how much salt you intake.
Yeah. So this is what we've got. We're going to let this sit on to one side of the turkey tenderloin for about 3 minutes. You don't want to turn it over too fast because you want that turkey to sear with a little bit of olive oil in there. What we're going to do after we take the turkey tenderloins out, we're going to put them onto a pan and we're going to roast those in the oven for about 15 minutes. And then we're going to let them sit before we start to slice them. We're going to take some shallots that we already have chopped. We've got chopped shallots. We also have some dry white wine. We've got some apple cider vinegar. We've got reduced sodium chicken broth. And then the recipe calls for chopped tarragon leaves. I couldn't find any. So I grabbed some sage. Sage is obviously one of the herbs that goes well for the upcoming holiday season. So I'm just going to throw this actually into the reduction sauce while we're making it. Then I'm going to pull it out, and you can see the sage here. Actually, then I'm going to pull it out before we get too far along, so it doesn't overpower the flavor that we're looking for.
You should have called me this morning. I have tarragon.
I'm sorry, Jenny's got tarragon. I apparently missed that memo with all the memos I had this week. So next time, we're going to post Jenny's phone number on the chat. So if you need tarragon, call Jenny. So we're going to go back here to the turkey tenderloins. And what we're going to do is just show you
Oh, it's beautiful. And it smells so good in
what they
here
look
already.
like here. And if you see on the screen here, okay, Jen, put that down. You get that nice crispiness on here. What that's doing is, number one, that's giving you a lot of flavor. Number two, it's searing in all of that liquid that's inside that turkey tenderloin. So we're going to go ahead and put that back. And there again, you hear that nice sound that you've got that sear. That is exactly what you're looking for. That sear is, when we were young chefs coming up, we used to call that sear the applause. That meant we were doing a great job.
Great job.
Doing a great, thank you. So the turkey is actually applauding us for doing a great job with the turkey. So we're gonna go ahead and look at the opposite side here. So we're gonna get ready to add our other ingredients. So we have our shallots, and shallots are in the allium family. They are in the garlic, leek, onion, scallion family. So they're a little bit pungent, and when you cut these, You don't want to cut them too far in advance because they get stronger. It's like when you cut an onion in advance, the onion tends to get stronger when you cut it.
I got a question, Jim.
Sure.
So I've heard that if you soak your onions, it takes some of that away. Is that true?
Yeah, what I like to do is if I'm cleaning a lot of onions, I'll take the onions, take the skin off, put the onion that's been cleaned, put it into a bucket of ice water, and that helps with some of that. I don't know whether it's the aroma or the gas coming off the onion.
Right.
It reduces that, so you tend not to cry. One of my first jobs is I worked for a gentleman, and every Saturday he would make me peel 50 pounds of onions every Saturday. So by the time I was done, looked like I had been crying for days. So I actually talked to one of the other chefs, and they said put ice into a 5-gallon bucket, and every day put them in there, and then you chop them, and it's so much easier to do that way.
Okay, here's another question from our chat. Should you wash your packaged meats prior to cooking?
Generally I don't, because, anytime you add any liquid to it, you're going to remove some of the liquid that is already on top of the meat. So I'm not a big fan of that. And number two, it adds a little bit of moisture to the meat. So you're not going to get that nice sear. You're going to get kind of a steam instead of a sear, because you've added water to it. That water is going to steam and not give you the flavor or the color that you want on your meat.
I use paper towels.
Yeah, paper towels to dry them off is perfectly acceptable. That'll work well. So what we're doing now is we're taking the turkey tenderloins and we're turning these on the side so we get as many sides with a nice sear. And these actually look really, really nice. And then we're going to flip those over. Once they come out of the pan, I'm going to take our shallots. We're going to saute them for just a little bit. We're going to add our white wine. We've got some Sauvignon Blanc. You can use pretty much any kind of white wine that you might have at home. We have a 40% lower sodium chicken broth that we are using. And we've got some cider vinegar. And then again, we've got the sage. So I'm just going to take these turkeys out of the pan.
Now, when I'm doing this at home, Jen, on my home stove, I might look at medium high heat.
Medium high heat. You don't want to make sure you don't want to get this too hot. Because if you get it too hot, when you add your ingredients that you're going to make your reduction, what's going to happen is the items that you're going to reduce are going to tend to burn a little bit. So you want to make sure that it's not too hot. So what I did is I took the pan off the fire a little bit to allow the temperature of the pan to reduce. And now I'm going to add the shallots. But before I add the shallots, I'm going to add just a touch of olive oil. And this will allow the shallots to saute freely, as they should. And shallots are great. Once you cook with these, you're going to find that you're going to want to cook with these more often because they make for a great reduction sauce. And number one, they're not nearly as strong as onions, but they're not nearly as strong as garlic. So this is a great way to start reduction. And they smell really sweet. For those of you who are in the room now, we have Katie, who's got our camera, and we've got Jenny, who's over there.
Yeah, someone else mentioned that contaminating surfaces is another reason why you don't wash packaged meat, which that's what I was going to say is if you wash the meat or the chicken or the turkey, they've actually found that it creates more splatter. So you're actually just spreading more bacteria.
Okay, so we're short of our reduction, okay? And one of the things about reduction is when I went to chef school, I really concentrated on soups and sauces because I really thought that if you understand soups and sauces, you can pretty much understand any kind of food or any kind of cooking process. So what we're doing is we're reducing this, and we're going to reduce this by half. When we do that, it makes the wine a little bit syrupy, and so it's going to have a little bit of a viscosity to it when we put this under our turkey breast. So if you look down in the pan, or actually I'll hold this up to the pan for Katie, that's reduced quite a bit already. And you can see that nice brown color that we have. What we did is we took some of the drippings from the pan, which is just some of the meat crust that came from the turkey tenderloin, and left them in the pan. And when we put the wine in there, it released all that flavor. So this is one of the ways that you can start with your reduction. So that's all reduced. We're going to go ahead and add a couple the Lattes chicken broth to this. And I'm not measuring this because, as you know, I'm a highly seasoned professional. I work for Ohio State, so I'm not a highly paid professional, but I'm a highly seasoned professional and know that that was one cup of salt. We're gonna go ahead and crank this up, let that reduce a little bit. While that's reducing, we're going to add our apple cider vinegar to this and let that reduce a little bit. And then we're gonna take a piece of sage, and we're gonna throw the sage in there. And you know, sage is one of those things that if you really don't know what to do with, you know, you'll find different uses for this. Jenny and I were talking about this prior to. She's going to make this recipe. But what she's going to do is wrap that turkey into prosciutto ham, which is going to give it a whole new flavor. And I said, use some of this sage, put the sage on top of the turkey, then wrap the prosciutto over the turkey and let this sage kind of permeate the meat. It's going to be fantastic.
Now, I'm not a highly seasoned chef, but that's not on. Yes, it is.
Yes, so but the lesson here today is we're going to show Jenny how to turn the oven on, turn the burner on, just so we're all pretty well aware of what's going on there. So we've got the turkey in the oven, we've got the sauce reducing. So we're going to move on to our second recipe, which is the Yukon Gold and mashed potato. One of the reasons we're doing this is we're trying to reduce the number of calories and carbs in this dish here. So we have the Yukon Gold potatoes, and actually purchased some of the baby Yukon Gold potatoes. So we're not going to peel these. We're just going to take these, cook these, mash them, and put them into the mixer. And then we've got our cauliflower. So all of this is in a pot now cooking.
Got a question about the sage.
Question about the sage?
Do we rinse it?
No, you know, anytime that these herbs come in a box, generally these are all pretty well cleaned. If you want to rinse it, that's certainly your choice, but I would, you know, go through it, because sometimes when you buy these, you might have a leaf or two that's a little bit brown, so you want to clean those off. But I don't see any need to rinse these.
Does this one say rinse or anything like that?
It says keep
Because
refrigerated.
they come from a hot house, right?
Yeah, generally they do. Sometimes they say rinse before use. You're putting them into a pot that's well over 165 degrees. So any bacteria that might be on this is going to be killed with the heat that we have on here.
Yeah, and just rinsing it doesn't actually kill the bacteria. It will remove some dirt particles, but you're not actually cleaning it. It's the temperature that is
And
going to.
It's not like vegetables where there might be a pesticide or something on that.
No, not typically, not with your herbs.
Yeah, they tend to grow herbs in very clean circumstances, like hothouses
Jim, you're
or
doing a great job.
vertical houses. Thank you. So the next thing we're going to do is I took some roasted garlic here, and what we did is this smells amazing, and I chose to use roasted garlic. And I'm going to show you how to do this so you can do this at home, because it's so simple to do. So what we're going to do is we've got our garlic bulb right here. So we've got our stem that's going to be coming out of the ground, and we've got our root end here that's going to be down below. You're going to cut the top off. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to expose as many as the garlic cloves as you possibly can, like this, and then just put this on a piece of aluminum foil, a little bit of olive oil, and some salt and black pepper, and you're going to roast it. And you'll see when we do this with our cauliflower and potatoes, it's going to pop right out. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. And so we're just going to pull this apart. And if you look at what we have with the garlic here, the garlic tends to just slide right out. And once you roast garlic, you will find so many different uses for this. I've actually had this for breakfast on toast in the morning. You really need to brush your teeth much later.
I wonder what it smells.
But you see how that's all coming out? This is all good stuff, and this is going to go into your potatoes. And this adds such a nice richness and such a nice depth of garlic to your dish. You're going to want to always use this.
Yeah, and the other thing I love about roasting garlic is it takes that bite away. So like if you're serving a lot of people and they're not as like down with the garlic bite, which I mean, I don't know who those people are, but anyways, if you're not that down with it, it takes the edge off of it and it just makes it this sweet, creamy, delicious.
Totally.
So good.
If anybody's wondering who's talking, it is my partner in crime and Jim's partner in crime, Chef Katie McCurdy.
Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we have the cauliflower and the mashed potatoes. We started roasting though, actually started boiling those about 5 of 12. So they've been in the water for about 25 minutes. We're gonna go ahead and strain those into a what they call a china cap. I'm not sure.
Massive.
A massive
Massive
china
strainer.
cap. It is the largest china cap that you have ever seen in your entire life, but this is all we have. And this is what Jenny went as for Halloween. She went as the Tin Man. So
So this just proves that even when you're in this massive kitchen that has every tool, you may not have tarragon and you may not have the best strainer. So use what you got,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
use
I mean,
what you
here it
have.
comes.
Jim, someone did ask about how long you need to roast the garlic for it to be roasted.
I roasted that garlic for about 30 minutes at about 400 degrees. Once I cut that, I put a little bit of olive oil on top and salt, pepper, wrap it up in the aluminum foil. They do make garlic roasters that you can buy like sur la table. But why pay $25 for something that you can use 7 cents worth of aluminum foil for?
Right.
So we're gonna go ahead and strain out our cauliflower and our Yukon Gold potatoes into the pot. And now what we're gonna do, and this is something that a lot of home cooks don't do, and we're gonna do this for a couple of different reasons. Number one, we want to dry these out, so we're gonna put these back on the fire, and we're gonna reduce some of the liquid that's already in here.
I do that.
Well, Jenny's ahead of the curve.
I also use a ricer. What do you think of ricers?
I'm gonna just let these go. I'm gonna actually use a potato masher. This is old school. My grandmother taught me how to make mashed potatoes when I was a little kid, and she used this. So if it worked for her, it's gonna work for me. Then we're gonna throw this into a blender.
So you don't like a ricer?
I do like a ricer, but for me, it's just one more piece of equipment, and I hate cleaning ricers.
How come people give me equipment for every gift giving occasion? I got everything you could imagine.
I don't know. I think there'd be a yard sale at Jenny's house
Are they
soon.
trying to help me?
Yeah. Apparently that's a deficiency.
Listen,
and,
once someone knows that you like to cook, that's the thing they know about you. And so they give you that gift because, oh, Jenny likes to cook, so she must need this.
Yes. I actually love all those little tools. I love to try them once or twice and see if somebody gave me an air fryer. I love it.
Yeah, I've heard good things.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go ahead and take this. We're gonna bring this back over to our marble board. But what we're gonna do in the first, before we do that, is we're gonna take all of our garlic. And this is where it's really good to know how to handle your knife. So we're gonna pick up the garlic with the edge of my knife, and we're gonna put this into our cauliflower and potato mix. And then everything's off the board. It's nice and clean.
Can we talk a little bit about what's in that pot right now?
Yes.
So the holidays are all about good food and overindulging, but these recipes are helping us to reduce the carbohydrate content. We've got, instead of all potatoes, which are starchy vegetables, that cauliflower is taking the place and it's giving it a little depth of flavor that we're not used to. And the garlic is an antioxidant, and it's going off after cancer and cells that might be damaged. So there's a lot of good in here. It's not just yummy, healthy side dish. It is healthy Thanksgiving side dish.
Yeah, Jim's just trying to drown you out. It's
So
fine.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut off everything Jenny just said
Hey,
here.
Jim.
Yo, Jenny, let's talk about these potatoes. So what we've done is we've used this old fashioned masher, and I've mashed these up, and the potatoes were done, the cauliflower is done, and I left the skins on because in most of the vegetables like this, the nutrient density is really more on the outside of the skin. So we're going to,
Yeah, Jenny, can you talk about the
Where-
fiber
Where
in
are
the
the
skin?
tasting spoons? Oh, yeah. Yeah, the fiber in the skin. So if we leave the fiber on, it's going to help blood sugar control because fiber kind of slows things down. Therefore, the nutrients don't get where they're going quite as quickly. Blood sugar might not go up quite as quickly. So keep the skins on, eat your fiber.
okay, so you see we've added our Parmesan cheese to this. We've added our garlic. We're gonna add our chives to this right before we serve this. If you put the chives in now, what's gonna happen is the heat's gonna overcook the chives. The chives, instead of being a nice, brilliant green, the chives are gonna turn out like an army green if we let them go. We're gonna also add our plain Greek yogurt, and this is a great sub for sour cream. Number one, it's got the acidity of sour cream. Number two, it's got the same thickness as sour cream, but there is no fat in this whatsoever. We're gonna add a little touch of olive oil.
Did you use fat-free yogurt?
I use fat-free yogurt.
Alright.
That was Oikos fat-free. So again, we're saving some calories. So we're gonna mix this all up, and we're gonna allow Jenny to taste this first because she is
Waiting so patiently.
she's waiting
with
so
her spoon.
patiently that she's right beside me. No, actually, she's yes. Here she goes.
Okay, I'll let you know, Jim.
Okay. Jenny's our taste tester.
Mm,
Okay.
that is so good.
We get a thumbs up from Jenny, so I guess that means I'm employed for another week, so I appreciate that. So we're gonna go ahead and take this mixture here, throw it into a mixer, and we're gonna mix this up a little bit. So what we have is a KitchenAid mixer, which, you know, I think most kitchens will find, you'll find a KitchenAid mixer in most kitchens. So we're gonna put this,
Jenny, someone else said they're Team Ricer, so
put this in the bowl.
Yay.
Okay, well, Jenny's got a pound with the Team Ricer. So
thanks, Elizabeth.
we've got this. We're gonna go ahead and pop this into our KitchenAid mixer. We're gonna use a wire whip instead of a paddle. Then we're gonna turn this on fairly high. And the reason we turn this on fairly high is because there was not a lot of potatoes in here. If this thing was about 3/4 full and you turned it on high, the potatoes are gonna go everywhere. Because this is less than half full, you can turn this on high and whip the potatoes up really quickly. Okay, and that's it. Our mashed potatoes are done. And that's the beautiful thing about utilizing some of the old school as well as the new school, is that we're able to get from both.
Now, talk to me about, can I do this the day before? Can I cool it, put it in the fridge? How do I deal with it?
You can make this the day before, but when you heat it, you're going to want to put a little bit of milk or water in your pan first to get that water hot, and then put your potatoes in there.
Okay.
Don't try to cook your potatoes just by putting them in the pan because the bottom will burn.
Okay.
So you don't want to do that. So we've got our mashed potatoes here, and if you look at them, they've got a nice thickness to them. And for the most part, if you don't tell anybody that there's cauliflower in here, 9 times out of 10, they will not notice. So actually, you're doing your guest a favor by adding this. We got a little bit of salt and pepper. We're going to add our chives. We've got our Parmesan cheese in here. And here we have our mashed potatoes. They're ready to rock and roll. And if Jenny wants to give this another taste, because again, she is standing right next to me, and I know that means she's hungry.
Where did they go? Oh, yeah. Katie got me a bunch of tasting spoons. All right, this is for all of you out there. Thumbs up. I love it.
Okay.
The addition of the chives is amazing. It tastes so fresh and nice. And anytime you can add a non-starchy something or other to kick up the volume on the flavor, I'm for it.
Okay, I'm going to check the turkey breasts that are in the oven. We want to make sure that they come out at 165 degrees. Or you want to bring them out at about 160 degrees and then let them sit for 5 minutes. There is a culinary term called carryover cooking. And what that means is because you've got so much heat in here and you pull that out of the oven, the food itself, because of all the heat that's been kind of pushed into it, is going to continue to carry over the cooking for up to 5 to 10 degrees. So I'm going to poke this right in the center and see what this is. And this is on centigrade. And I grew up with the old fashioned. So we're going to take this off centigrade here, put this back on Fahrenheit.
A lot of buttons on that thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of buttons for this thing. There we go. So right now we're at 118 degrees Fahrenheit. We're hitting 120. So that tells us that we have a little bit of time to go on this. I generally would like to think that, 10 minutes per pound, these were about 2 pounds each. We're about 122 degrees. So we're going to put these in for about maybe 15 more minutes. And then we're gonna bring them out and let them sit for about 10 minutes before we cut them. The sauce that we're working on, you can see we have a nice reduction here. If you look at that pan, and the smell is amazing because you've got the white wine reduction, you've got the sage in here, you've got the smell of the shallots. So we're gonna continue to reduce this as we talk. That's a little bit of a lower heat than what you might normally find. So for our next dish, we're doing zucchini and yellow squash latkes. And I used to do work at a very prominent businessman's house here in Columbus. And my job for every Jewish holiday was to make latkes. And I used to make thousands of latkes at a time. And sometimes it would take me up to 8 hours to make latkes. And I was like a young kid at Burger King with French fry acne because I had so much grease. It was it was awful. So anyhow, so we've
So
got
fond memories of latkes.
fond memories of latkes. So I really do enjoy latke, and that's why I like to include these in as many things as possible.
So why are you using squash and zucchini?
Number one, they do crisp up really nicely. They have a lot of color, and again, we're adding some more vegetables as opposed to adding the starch.
Yes,
To our
so
dish.
lowering the carbs to almost nothing.
Yes. So we're gonna take our eggs. We've got 2 medium eggs
I have so many questions.
that we've whipped up, and please answer or please ask.
So what did, these look dry, but when I do that to squash and zucchini, it's wet.
Well, what you do is once you pull these out of your food processor, or if you have a box grater, you're gonna wanna squeeze all the water out of these as much as you can. And you can see I squeezed these quite a bit this morning, and there's still a pretty fair amount of water in there. So you wanna get rid of that as best
Okay.
that you can. So I'm gonna pre-mix all of the wet and dry ingredients. So whenever we have the zucchini,
I just wanted to know what was the kosher salt and ground pepper ratio that you prefer?
2 to 1, 2 parts kosher salt, 1 part black pepper.
But you know, Judith, it's also really kind of up to you as well, because if you don't like that much ground black pepper and that's gonna turn you off from eating the dish because it has too much, then you're not gonna wanna do it at that ratio. So give it a try.
Okay, so we have the eggs and we have the baking powder already mixed. We're gonna add 6 to 8 tablespoons of flour. And again, because of my skill level, I'm going to, this is 6 to 8. And we're gonna make this into kind of a light dough. If we did this when we had all the vegetables in here and the oil, what would happen is we wouldn't get the right even distribution of the eggs and the flour and the baking soda. And that's what we're looking for. So that's a little bit light. I'm gonna add just a touch more flour. I'm gonna add some salt and black pepper to this as well.
Could you use another kind of flour?
Yeah, if you wanted to use like a chickpea flour or whatever, you could use that. The one thing when you're using a whole wheat flour or a wheat flour, you need that gluten, and the gluten is what holds everything together. Because when you add water to flour, that allows the gluten strands to stretch, and that's like when you're making pasta, you use high gluten flour, and the reason for that is you want it nice and tight, and you want it to be kind of stringy. But you could use another kind of flour if you wanted to use cornstarch in here. You could do that, but you want to use less cornstarch because cornstarch will absorb up to 10 times the amount of cornstarch. Say if you put a tablespoon in, it'll absorb 10 tablespoons worth of liquid, or tighten up or thicken up whatever you might have. So we're gonna go ahead and move these over, and we're gonna bring our griddle over here and you could move the griddle here. No, you're doing just fine. So we're gonna go ahead and pull out something mixed with the griddle. So we've got our zucchini and yellow squash. And we're gonna put this in here. And again, this is an awful lot. If you wanted to make these up, these actually freeze pretty well. So if you wanted to make these in advance and then bring them out that day, you want to heat them up pretty quickly, because if you allow them to heat slowly, what's going to happen is that they're going to tend to get soggy on you.
That makes me want to get my hands in there.
Well, Jenny wants to mix these up a little bit, so we're going to allow her to have this. So then we're gonna put a little bit of olive oil on our griddle, just a touch, not a whole lot, because this is a non-stick griddle. But you want that oil on there because the oil gives you some of the color and the texture. So we're gonna move down again. So I'm gonna show Jenny how
Tell
to
me
do
what to
this.
do.
So we're gonna take these and then just take a piece that's about the size of a little bit larger than a golf ball. Then we're gonna flatten these out so it looks like a cake. Okay, we're gonna kind of lay this down in the oil, and you can see it's starting to simmer already, and that's what you want. And we want to pat these down because if they're too thick, the zucchini and yellow squash that's in the center won't cook properly. So Kate, if we can get a better shot of this, that would be fantastic.
I like when they look kind of shaggy.
But if you want to make them shaggy, that's fine. If you are doing this and they do come out and they're kind of disheveled, you can call them home style, okay?
Jenny
Just
style.
remember that. You can call them Jenny style or home style, so no matter what. So Jenny's got the four of them on there. Ready to go. And I'm gonna go back here and do another temperature check on our turkey.
How we doing?
Let's see here. Okay, now we're back on Fahrenheit, so we're at about 134, 136. So we're starting to push this a little bit. So I'm going to flip these over. They're about 140. So I'm going to put these in for about another 3 minutes. But you can tell by looking at them. I'm going to put these in front of the camera how nice and juicy these are. So these don't have any glaze on them whatsoever. This is just the oil, and this is just the some of the liquid that's coming out of the turkey. And again, you want to cook these to 165. What's great about the turkey tenderloin is when you slice it, you're going to slice it really, really thinly, and then you're going to put that on your plate, and it's going to pretty much fall apart on your plate.
Now this griddle's at 350,
This
is that right?
griddle's at between 350 and
That's what it is.
375.
Okay.
And what you want to do is kind of look at these here, and whenever you start to see a little bit of moisture kind of coming through the top of the latkes, that tells you that they're cooked halfway. And I know that's just kind of a weird concept, but what's happened is you have enough heat here on the bottom that it's pushing the liquid up, and you can see that on some of these, it's pushing the liquid up through.
Yeah,
And then when
it does look wetter.
when you reach that point, then it's time to flip that over. So we're gonna get a
I'm gonna do these too, Jim, but I'm gonna make them a lot smaller, and I'm gonna set them out before dinner.
okay.
And I'm gonna put them with some kind of little like dipping sauce made with Greek yogurt.
You know what's great with these? You can use a little bit of avocado, a little bit of Greek yogurt. Tastes amazing.
Oh, yeah,
For
yeah, yeah,
these.
I'll do that.
So everybody's invited over to Jenny's house. She lives in UA. She's got a nice sized kitchen and can seat up to 12. So send your reservation in early to Jenny Schrodes at OSUMC.
Jennifer.Schrodes.
Jennifer.Schrodes.
Everybody's
So I'm gonna
welcome.
switch this for a second.
Okay, thank you.
So
All right.
Jenny's
You
gonna
want me to
flip
do it
these.
now?
Yep. Let's go ahead and flip these.
I'm gonna use my fingers.
Okay, that's fine. And flip it over.
Oh, that's pretty nice.
And you see how pretty that looks? It's got that nice color to it, the
Oh.
beautiful brown, the beautiful caramelization on there, which is fantastic. And I have to admit, Jenny is an amazing cook. I've only seen
Aw.
her cooking once at her residence, and I've seen her cook online, but I've never cooked with her like this side to side, or it's been a long time, but she did an amazing job flipping these. Most people would have broken these immediately, but Jenny did a great job.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
It's
she's-
about 12:40, guys.
she's
so you
fantastic.
have a time check
All right, we
for
got
your
time.
menu.
Okay, so let the turkey in there for this one here.
Now, so far, we've been doing these really like no carb or low carb recipes. Now we're rolling into this salad, right? Is that where we're going next? Jim?
Yeah, we're gonna roll into the salad. So what we'll do is we're gonna take some of the latkes here, and we are going to move those off onto another plate.
Okay, and I want to say a little bit about this salad recipe. There are, the way it's written, there are sources of sugar, which bump up the carbs a whole lot. But what I want you to do is if you don't want all those carbs, I want you to bump it down. So I want you to take the maple syrup and I want you to sub it out for a sugar-free syrup or maybe agave, which has a lower glycemic index. And then cranberries are called in this recipe. You can get the low sugar cranberries or you can leave them out entirely. I think they look pretty good the way the Jim's done them. I can't wait for him to show you. And then the last thing was the apple juice.
Yeah, we have the apple juice. You're talking about the salad.
Yep, just
Yep.
talking about how to reduce the sugar in that so it's a little bit lower in carbohydrates.
Okay.
You could do the lemon juice instead of apple juice, right? Would that lower?
It would, of course, it was totally lower it. It would change, I think, the taste a little bit, but I like that because I like that acid in there. Yeah.
And if you look at the latkes, they kind of rose a little bit because we have the baking powder in there. It kind of gives it a little bit of a lift because you have to have heat and you have to have liquid for that to work. But if you look at this one here, it looks like a nice thick pancake. These would be good for breakfast, actually. So
Yeah,
if you-
that's
if you
the
want
one
to make
you
these for
did.
breakfast. Well,
Also great for leftover turkey from
It-
Thanksgiving, because you could throw some turkey in there.
Oh,
yeah, they all
And-
look fantastic.
We're gonna be talking about leftover turkey in our demo next
Oh,
week.
yeah,
Yes,
we
we
are.
Okay, so let's go ahead and cover those up.
Wanna put more in there?
Yes, if you're hungry.
Yes, and then Jim can move on. Jenny's stuck with the
I-
latkes.
I've got to move on.
Okay.
So right now we've got the turkey. Right now we have the latkes. We have the mashed potatoes with the cauliflower and the Yukon gold potatoes. The last thing that we're going to put together is, any questions on
We
there?
do, we have, so let's go back, the avocado and Greek mixture. They said together or separate. I think I'm gonna do it together.
Yeah, do it together. I would do equal parts of guacamole and equal parts of the Greek yogurt, and you'll be fine. You put them on there and they're absolutely amazing. I have a picture. We did a community event a number of years ago, and there was one young boy, and he was maybe 5 years old, and he was eating a kohlrabi fritter, which
Yum.
most people have never heard of kohlrabi, but he was eating a kohlrabi fritter, and we had the avocado and the Greek yogurt sauce on top of the kohlrabi. This kid loved it. I mean, I have a picture of this young man, and his face is pure bliss because he's enjoying it so
And then
much.
look, can the turkey be cooked ahead? And if so, what is the best way to reheat it so it doesn't dry out?
Well, what you want to do is once you pull this out, you're going to want to make sure that if you're going to use it the next day, keep it whole, okay? Because if you try to cut it too fast, it's going to dry out. You want to keep it as whole as you can. If I were going to roast this the next day, I'd probably wrap this in aluminum foil. Maybe put a little bit of chicken stock or some water in your aluminum foil, and then throw this into the oven. Okay, so our turkey is about ready. I'm going to check these one more time, and I'm about done checking these. So right now, this one is reading. Okay, this one's reading about 150 right now, Fahrenheit. So we're gonna go ahead and let these sit. And while we let these sit, what that's gonna do is, because we've had all of these things, we have heat, we have from any number of directions, we have heat that when we cook these on the outside, it forces all the moisture inside the meat, into the center of the meat. By allowing it to rest before you use it, it allows those liquids to redistribute themselves among the cell structure of the meat, and it makes the meat much, much more tender. So I'm going to put these over here on the side. And then we have a small, we'll use that for the sauce. Okay. So for the next ingredient, we should have one more bowl here.
Yes.
Right over
here.
Okay, for the butternut squash with warm cider vinaigrette, we've got butternut squash, and I did this earlier today. We have our butternut squash, and we took the butternut squash, roasted this for about 20 to 25 minutes. We wanted to get some color on here, and what we did is we took this, roasted it, put it in the refrigerator, and also roasted the dried cranberries. If you wanted to use the lower sugar dried cranberries, that would be my recommendation to cut out some of the sugar that's in here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make our dressing that we have here.
Did you mention that you roasted those with the butternut squash?
Yes.
Okay, that's just blew my mind. I'm like, of course you did. That's gonna make it taste even better.
Okay, so we're gonna add some olive oil here, and we're gonna make the dressing. Some olive oil. We have some sugar-free maple syrup. We're gonna add here. Okay, and we're gonna whip that together, and a little bit of salt and pepper. Okay, so we're gonna let that sit. I think I have a small wire whisk. Well, not really small, it's the size of a baseball bat, but
Just your
but
average
it's
home
what we
whisk.
got. Yeah, this is, everybody should have one of these, you know?
Probably take up half my kitchen. you know?
Yes, well, you know, kids are out of line, the dog's barking, you know, you got
Gives
the,
you longer reach, you know?
yeah, the Amazon guys at the door. I mean, it's just, there's so many ways that you can use this wire whisk, okay? So while that squash is cooking, I have a small pot that is right here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna reduce a couple of ingredients to allow this to be a little more fragrant. So we've got our shallots. There we're gonna reduce. We have apple juice. We have some cider vinegar. We have some Dijon mustard. Whatever you do, do not use ballpark mustard. Ballpark mustard is good for only hot dogs and soft pretzels, nothing more. Do not put it in sauces, it'll turn it bright yellow and you'll be sadly disappointed. So we're gonna go ahead and throw this on the fire, and we're gonna put this on high and reduce this.
Someone said, I know the robot can deliver. What does that mean? Are we talking about that
The
Uber robot?
ATS. Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, the, those little, what are they called?
Jim, that could be a side hustle for you. You can make this beautiful dinner and send them out.
Send them in a robot.
Yeah, I've seen those
I'm
robots
sure
on
he's got a
campus.
couple of them, just hanging out.
Yeah, my garage is full of robots. So, so if you see some things coming out on the high street from Clintonville, you know it was me. Just don't open them, okay? Please don't. So we've got the olive oil, the maple syrup, we've got the salt and pepper, and what we want to do is we've got that roasted, so we've got this sitting here right now. We're gonna go ahead and put this in here so we get a nice even distribution. And with your pan, you can either do this with your hands to get that nice even distribution, but you want to kind of lift these up, okay? You don't want to take a spoon and mash them. You just kind of want to lift these, and so that way you don't break them up. So we have these here. So we're gonna set these off the side. While we reduce our sauce, we've got the apple juice, the vinegar, the shallots, put the Dijon mustard in there. So we're gonna let that reduce, and then we're gonna go ahead and start out. We've got, actually I have that small one there.
For the turkey?
Yeah, right there. This is for the salad.
Oh, okay.
So we've got our bowl here that we're gonna use for the salad, and I like this bowl here because to me it was a little more dramatic because it adds some height and elevation to your food. So I thought that was a nice mix. So we're going to put this here. We've got the ingredients here, and we have the reduction moving pretty quickly here. And while this is reducing, that's going to reduce kind of quickly. We're going to take our turkey tenderloin, and we're going to start slicing this down, and we're going to start setting up our plate. So what's going to go on the plate right now is the mashed potatoes, a couple of the latkes. We can use sage as a garnish, and then we're going to finish the salad. But for our turkey, what we want to do is the way the turkey tenderloin runs, the turkey tenderloin actually runs along the spine of the turkey. So this muscle doesn't get used a lot. That's why it's so tender. Hence, it's called the tenderloin. So what we want to do in order to give you a little more plate coverage on this and to make it thinner so it's easier for you to chew, we're going to slice this into real small pieces, but we're going to slice these on a diagonal, just a little bit like this. Okay, so that will be about a 4-ounce portion. So you want to make sure that with your protein dish, can I have one of those plates over there?
Yeah, I guess,
Thank
sure.
you, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
I can do that.
Okay, so we're gonna strain our sauce into our industrial sized
I
China
feel like I
cat here.
should hold it. I don't know if I should, but I'm
Well,
doing
we're
that.
gonna let Jenny hold that. So we've got our reduction sauce here, and it really smells delicious
It's
because,
amazing.
you know, you've got the wine in there and you've got the
I want to do
the
something
chicken
with
stock.
that.
You can eat that.
I'm gonna
Mix
eat
that with your
that.
mashed potatoes. So
Ooh,
what we're gonna do
yes.
is to take this turkey, we're gonna take this and we're gonna kind of feather it a little bit, okay? So this isn't your normal Thanksgiving dinner where you just cut it, put everything on top. We feathered that a little bit to give it a little bit of a drama. And if you look, you can see how moist this is. And it's
It's
at the
so
right
good.
temperature. And this is super moist because we didn't overcook it. A lot of fish of the old school cooks tend to think if it's overdone and it's falling off the bone, then that it's finished. That's not the case for us here today.
So Jim, could they leave like the shallots and stuff in the sauce if they wanted?
Absolutely,
Or,
absolutely. But
okay.
I did this because, you know, I like to strain the sauce.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
want to leave the shallots in there, you could do that. So I'm gonna pour a little bit of the sauce. Sauce.
Get it
I used to live-
saucy.
I used to live near Boston.
Yeah, no need for gravy.
No need for gravy because, you know, gravy is usually some fat and some other things that really aren't the best for you. Jenny's going to go ahead and put some of her
Mini
soon to be
lattes.
world famous world Lockies. Let's go
Where
ahead
would
and
you like them?
let's go ahead and put
Here?
3 of them right there.
Okay, little baby ones.
So we got our baby Lockies on here, and then we're going to put a scoop of mashed potatoes on
Oh.
here.
Nice.
Okay.
Team effort.
So we got our scoop of mashed potatoes.
That is beautiful. Look at that color. It's just grand.
So we've
yes,
got our scoop
grand.
of mashed
Okay,
potatoes.
you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take this 1/2 cup measurement. And that's what I'm gonna do. Measure in your food. Where do we want this?
They're going to put this right here.
Katie can tell you I'm not the best at plating.
Okay, so we're gonna take this and we're just gonna mash this down a little bit.
Yeah, so it doesn't look like lunch
So
lady
it doesn't
style.
look like, we don't wanna have this in a round scoop.
I like to take it and like swirl, like put a swirl in the middle so it like catches
Oh,
juices
yeah.
and stuff.
Okay.
That's like one of my faves.
Okay,
Okay,
well,
look at
there.
that, there we
Yeah.
go. So, and then we're gonna layer this with some fresh sage.
My
And
gosh.
and you've got this amazing looking dish here. And again,
Yes.
one of the things that we wanna look for is we've got some color, we've got some texture, and we've got some flavor. We have the skins in the potatoes, so we have the nutrient density of the potatoes. The squash, Lockies look great. The turkey is super tender and it's delicious. So that is our entree here. And at the very end, we're gonna show you everything put together. We have our salad, and right now we're waiting on the other dressing here, which is reducing. So we're gonna take some of the arugula that we have here, and we're gonna mix the arugula. And arugula is one of those underused grains. I really like this a lot. It's got kind of a peppery flavor to it. And it works really well because you've got some of the sweetness here with the butternut squash, that when you mix this together, it really adds quite a bit because you've got these different flavors. You've got the kind of bitterness from the arugula, you've got the sweetness from the potatoes, and then you've got the acidity from the dressing that we're about to pour over this. So you're going to find a lot of different flavors.
Jim, we have a kind of odd question because it's not really something that we talked about, but someone wanted to know what kind of knives you recommend.
I would recommend getting a good carbon steel knife that's a stainless steel knife. I have German knives. They're called Wüsthof Trident. And what you'll look for is you'll see that little trident on here. They sell these at Surlatov. You can buy these at Kohl's. You can probably buy these online. The reason I like these is number one, that they balance in your hand very, very nicely. And if you look at these little circles that are on here, when you're slicing something like potatoes or sweet potatoes, these little pockets on here don't allow the potato to form to stand on here. You've got an air pocket, which is going to allow the potato to fall off this. This is only about an 8-inch blade, which, when I was a younger chef, I would carry a much bigger knife. The older you get, you become a little more secure, and you use a smaller knife because it does the same darn thing. So we've got our arugula here, and now we have our dressing here. which looks amazing. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put this over the top here.
So we got a question. Are you for hire?
Mike for hire. Send me your email address and we can talk. I'm easy, but I'm not cheap. Okay, so what we've got here is we've got some walnuts that we're gonna throw on top of here, and you can roast these. And we're gonna take our mix and just kind of mix this all together. And this will make about 6 different salads, and you've got the heat in here, which is gonna bring out some of the real flavors.
You know what cheese I want on that?
What?
Feta cheese.
Feta cheese would be pretty
You know
amazing.
what I want to do with that? I want to have that
Eat
the
it.
next day with the turkey leftovers on top.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah, yeah.
could use this the next day, but the problem that's you're gonna face is because you have some acidity in here with the vinegar, it's your lettuce is gonna be very, very flat because the acidity in the lettuce has broken down the fibers that are in your dish. So right now, we have our salad here, which looks absolutely amazing, and we're gonna show Jenny enjoying this, and then we have our dish here. So this is a really nice way to start out the holidays, because everything here is nice and lean. I know on Thanksgiving Thursdays, a lot of times the men will tend to overeat. They'll go into tryptophan, a tryptophan coma. They'll be over on the couch watching football with one hand in their pants, the other hand on the remote. I've seen this for years, and so this is one way to kind of get around that. So
How
let's
tender
watch
that
Jenny
is.
here. Here's Jenny. Let's watch
I
her
don't need a
face.
knife. I don't need a knife. Okay, here we
Okay,
go.
Jenny. Okay.
Jim,
Isn't that amazing?
it's amazing. This is happening at my house on Thanksgiving.
Okay, so again, she lives in Upper Arlington.
Yeah.
And you've got a back porch too, right? So
I
you can-
do. We can just spread out.
for
Just
the
bring a
overflow?
bottle of wine. We'll all be good.
Okay, it's all good.
So
So again,
Yeah.
it's about 1 o'clock, so we've
We'll
gone
try
up to our
this.
hour. Try this salad at home. If you don't want to use arugula, the last thing that you want to use is do not use iceberg. Iceberg lettuce is basically
Jim.
cellulose and some water.
the latkes.
So I think we have a fan here with
Look.
Jenny Schrodes.
This plate
Um,
right here has probably less than 20 grams of total carbohydrates. Blood sugar is not going to go up here. If you're on insulin, you will have to take a minimal amount depending on how much you take. Excellent,
Good.
just excellent.
Thank you. So if you, again, with the potatoes, if you want to throw some of that turkey stock on there, you could do that. And this will reheat again with the turkey tenderloin. You want to keep it whole, because if I tried to reheat these slices of turkey individually, they're going to tend to dry out.
Yeah.
And they're going to tend to toughen up, because right now they're about the perfect temperature and they're about the perfect texture. And if you look at Jenny here, she is one happy camper right
And
now.
I'm going to
okay?
tell you, I'm going to make double that sauce because it tastes so good on everything.
Yes, it is a great sauce. So while we're letting Jenny enjoy her food, are there any other questions that you might have for us?
All right.
I don't see any in the chat right now, but if anyone has any, go ahead and put it in there. I just want to quickly thank you both for being here today, taking us through all these recipes and giving us some tips and strategies for cooking them as well as cooking in general. And thank you to Katie for manning the camera and coming in with your tidbits as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Always appreciate that. You guys are always a fun time having on. I'm looking at the chat. I don't see any more questions.
Thank you.
Just lots of thank yous, lots of people wanting these recipes. Yep, I will
Okay,
send them
fine.
out. They went out
Yeah.
this morning. I'll send them out afterwards as well, so everyone will have access to them and can cook them.
And join us next Tuesday.
Yes,
Yeah.
to join Jenny and Kate next
Great
for the regular
leftovers.
holiday leftover class or the regular diabetes class. I've got to run over to the east side here, like right now. So I'm
Clean up. Thank you,
and
Jen.
the joy of this is these guys are going to have to help me clean up a little bit, or actually help clean up. But the beauty is they get to take over
All the
all these
food.
leftovers. So you know what? It pays to be a
All right.
volunteer. So thank you very much. Have a great holiday.
Bye, everybody.
Bye,
Take
guys.
care,
Happy
everybody.
Thanksgiving.
Thank you, everybody. All right. Have a great weekend, everyone, and go
care.
Buckeyes.
Bye-bye.